guys, I'm Linda.
I'm Vicky.
I'm Marjorie.
I'm Elder Keith.
And we are Partners in Crime. This is the continuation of our discussion of Lori and Chad Daybell's religion. We dive into the end of the world beliefs, including March 2021, and how predictions have to change when the initial prediction doesn't pan out. Vicky brings up the topic of malachite poisoning. Malachite is the stone in Lori and Chad's wedding bands. Was there significance in Lori choosing that stone?
All these news-generating sites and YouTube videos, whatever you believe, you can go and get 100 people, 100 confirmations of it, right? If you believe the world is going to end and we are in the end times, you can go right now and see all these. I just saw a bunch of like Christian preachers that were Trump. He won. He got a lot, and they're predicting. Oh, in March, this is good. Well, they were started predicting back in December, and then they got to keep going because it doesn't.
It's not fitting.
The prediction doesn't work out.
Narrative.
No, it's going to be March now. March, something's going to happen.
Well, here's a story I want to bring up since you said that. Before the election, my mom was sent something from someone. I'm not going to say who it was, but it was a video of this person who said he was a pastor of this church. Who the hell knows if he was a pastor? You know, they don't have to give their credentials to prove it. But anyway, and he was saying he had visions.
Yeah.
And he had visions that Trump is not in the picture and there's going to be rioting in the streets and this is going to happen and this is going to happen. And, you know, my mom's like, and, you know, she was believing this. And I'm like, Mom, he's trying to get you to vote for someone so this doesn't happen. So I was trying to explain to her, this is not true. He didn't have visions. He's just trying to, because he put somebody's name out there. If he would have just said, these are my visions, this stuff is going to happen, but not put a person's name in there, then okay, you can kind of believe it. But because he had a specific person, if this person wasn't in the picture, all of this chaos was going to ensue.
Yeah, a little biased.
That shows me that this person was trying to get people to believe that if they didn't do something, that all of this chaos would ensue. So that's where it gets scary, where anybody can put anything out there and act like they are a member of a church, a pastor, somebody that people believe in, somebody that people listen to, even though who the heck knows if this guy, he could have just been somebody off the street saying, I'm going to do this because I want them to vote for this person. It is scary how people will just buy into this and listen and not think and say, wait a minute. If you would have just said this stuff is going to happen and not apply any specific scenario into this, just saying these are scenes that I've seen, this is a vision that I've had, when you start putting specific things that are specific people or scenarios in there, I just want people to stop believing it and really do research and really figure out, okay, why are they doing this? You know what I mean?
My pushback on that is, and I totally agree with what you're saying, is that what research are you going to do? Because you can research the thing that will confirm what you're saying, the vision.
That's right.
And the thing, I think what you're saying is you weave in little pieces of data, of information, of factual stuff into your vision. It makes it really seem real and really seem scary, right? Where you weave in some truths, just like, you know, if you listen to Sean Hannity or whatever, some guys on Fox News, they'll weave in parts, and then 90% of it is just kind of emotional. It's going to happen. This is going to happen, but they weave in enough of the oh, the Dow Jones went down to 3 points today. That means the end's going to come. You know, like Lou Dobbs.
Yeah.
He'll weave into his story, weaves in actually statistical, proven mathematical data, and then you weave it in and you say, that means that all these things are going to happen. Like, with Joe Biden, ushering in the end times.
Right.
Where, and on the other side, Trump was ushering in the end times.
Right.
And, whatever you're sympathetic towards, you can't be in both places. It seems like, for whatever reason, our human minds
have to take one side.
It seems like you're going to take a side, right?
Well, and I guess another thing I want everybody to take out of this conversation is don't alienate those people because they have a belief as well, whether it's yours or not. Just know that they might not be coming from a place of bad
deception. Yeah,
yes,
it can be a cleansing.
Yeah,
it's a mirror. They can be mirroring you, which can actually help further your own understanding of things when you see the opposite side.
Right. We all have to step back and be able to say that they have their own beliefs as well, and we can't bash them, or we have to be more understanding and try to understand where they're coming from, because they're not bad people either. Yeah, some of them are. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they were good on both sides. What I'm saying is some people are good people, and they're just misguided. I could be misguided. Who the hell knows? I have what I believe, but I think we just have to start understanding and talking to each other, and I think that's going to help.
Well, I always like to use the term framing, because a lot of people will say, the government's corrupt. And then when Trump won the election in 2016, I had these people, Russians, staying at my house, and they were from Moldova, which, if you look up Moldova, it's like the most corrupt country on earth. You drive down the street, the cop pulls you over, you got to give him cash. And so they were telling me, I had breakfast with them. It was great. And they were saying to me, I don't understand why Americans think their government is so corrupt. When they don't, it's like, nothing's going to ever be perfect, right?
Right.
And then there's also nothing that's total chaos. So how do you define corruption, right? How do you define it? Like, you have to put some kind of framing on
there
it.
You go.
Because everything can be an extreme. Everybody can be a Nazi. Everybody can be a liberal tree hugger, I don't know, whatever the opposite of that, fascist or a communist, right? But then how do you actually define that? Like you got to put like markers on it where you bracket it in, and then you can have a conversation, right? Because
and recognizing there's a person on the side of this belief.
Right.
Rather getting into war, like, but this is actually a human being. I don't have to change my belief to have acceptance and compassion for somebody else.
Yep.
That's a different belief.
Yeah. I watch actually a Russian couple who have videos, and I love them. They're so cute. They call the people that watch them, they're adorables, because he loves this word adorable. So he says, and our adorables, thank you. And it's the cutest thing.
Good. That's a good way to connect to the audience.
Yeah. But he was saying too, I don't have their specific town that they live in, but he was saying, you guys see the police and you feel good that they're going to protect you. He said, we fear the police because you don't want them coming after you because they're corrupt. And his friend actually worked for the Park Service, and he was trying to, help animals and the forests and make sure fires weren't get out of control or whatever. And
they didn't break the forest enough.
No, the people he couldn't work.
Trumpy. Yeah,
the people that worked with him, he couldn't work with them anymore because they were poachers.
Oh.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm trying to save these animals, and the people that are hired to save them are making money off of poaching these animals.
Right. They're like letting the guys in to kill them and stuff. Yeah, to get money.
So like you said, we think, oh, our government's corrupt or whatever, you know, there's always going to be corruption in some certain
Well,
way.
there's always going to be humans being imperfect.
Right.
Yeah.
And
There's
having
always-
power that they can't control or they just take advantage of.
Right.
But in the end, we're all working towards the same thing. And if we can all just realize that and try to at least get on some page together in some little way,
Yeah.
it might start helping. But, you know,
Well,
very
I
interesting.
found something
if you believe
interesting.
polygamy is the way to heaven, I mean, what do you do with that? How do you work with a person like that? Like the LDS, I mean, that was one of the biggest problems was the polygamy, and you know, there's kind of subjugation of women, you know, and there's a lot of like teenagers getting married to old guys because they're
Right.
running out of girls, you know, like. How do you find a peaceful middle ground there? Some of these things we can't find peaceful middle ground
well,
on.
I guess it's
You know,
human
it's-
rights,
just
and
like
human
the
dignity. That's what you have
healthcare
to
thing.
look at. You
Yeah.
have to.
It's always struggle though. It just seems
Yeah.
like it's struggle. It's like healthcare and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
why can't we do it like Sweden? Because that seems like it does. Looks like it makes sense.
Why
Even
can't
though
everybody just
what's
take
the
care
label?
of everybody? Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's true.
That's how that used to work.
Yeah.
The villages used to take care of everybody.
Yeah.
Somebody would get sick, everybody pulled together to
Yeah.
They still do
work
that,
with them.
Supposedly.
and certain, like the Amish do that, and the Mennonites do
They're
that.
better off.
Well, the men,
And why
I mean,
do
the
we-
Mormons do that too. I mean,
Yeah.
they have their own storehouses, they call them. They're like supermarkets. And if
Right.
you're on hard times, but you have to be in, you know, you have to be in good
standing.
because they're very strict on the on giving money to the church on the
Oh.
tithing, 10%. You got to give 10%. If you got to be within. That's part of being in good standing. So if you're in good standing, you're falling hard times, you don't have to pay. You go over and get stuff for free.
Okay.
I mean, they do take care of each other that way, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But the poor guy down the street that's not a Mormon, if he's starving, you know, that's the part
He's
where it's
still
like
your
it gets
human, he's
tricky.
still your neighbor.
It gets tricky.
Yeah.
He should be able to be taken care of.
It gets
So-
tricky though.
Yeah.
You can't take
Well,
care of everybody.
I
kind of
am going to
philosophy.
call.
You can.
I am going to call the Idaho Fremont County Sheriff and let him know that they need to retest for malachite poisoning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Some
Mhm.
forms of rock and dust are quite poisonous
Mm-hmm.
in and of themselves. Whether it is inhaled, ingested, or contacted by exposed skin, the effect can be injurious to your health.
Injurious.
Malachite and chrysocolla dust is quite toxic and should not be breathed, ingested, or left on skin surfaces.
Hmm.
That seems like it could be very easily come out as natural causes and not be seen.
Not be seen.
Yeah.
You know, who knows? It's just so interesting to me that these people who are so
What is malachite poisoning? Look at that.
long-term use of the, I don't know what that is, UDJU, couldn't have been healthy.
Oh, so there's a lot of copper in malachite.
That the high copper makes it toxic.
Yeah.
Just interesting that, you know, they believe in symbols and,
Well,
you know, and
a lot of the Mormon tradition, because Joseph Smith was involved in the Masons, the Masonic order,
yeah?
and so a lot of their secret handshake. There's a lot of similarities in the, and then they have secret ceremonies, like the weddings are secret. If you go to the cathedral, they have their church that the regular people go to, but then they got the
Temple.
temple
Yeah.
that you have to get permission to go to.
Right.
And the windows are up high, you can't look in. And so they have a lot of temple rites that are kind of similar to Masonic, also has their secretive rites. And so there's definitely some overlap there, and he was influenced by that. It appears to me, at least. I don't know how the Mormons look at it, but
Do you know about Masonic people that
Yeah, I
are
was in it.
involved in this?
I was in
okay,
it. I went
Keith,
into
so
it.
are
I was,
every
I went into
religion,
it. I
is there
went into
every
it.
religion in there? Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah, you have to believe in God, but
Yeah.
but you have to believe in a supreme being.
Okay, so it could
But-
be any religion, you just have to all agree that there's a supreme being.
You have to
that
agree
you
to a
follow.
supreme being.
Okay.
But yes,
Interesting.
I got initiated in there in the what they call Blue Lodge right here in Pottstown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my grandfather was in it. My dad was kind of in it, paid dues, and I just was like, I don't know. I just wanted to check it out. I thought it'd be cool, like a men's club, like a
Did
social
somebody
club.
have to invite you to go, or did you have someone sponsor you?
Yeah, you do have to. Yeah.
You can't
And then
just
they
walk
vote
in and
on
say,
you. They do these stones, these secret stones, and then if
Mm-hmm.
you get a black stone and it's anonymous, so if nobody knows you, I guess you're cool, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they have
Wow.
you have to pass if somebody doesn't want you there. But it was a bunch of old guys, and they wear like the skirts and stuff. They wear the aprons.
yeah, that's
they have
right, they
different kind of
do.
dress,
Yeah.
and they have all these. It was wild because I was in there, and the guy was really cool. The guy that actually taught me all their stuff. You know, you have to memorize stuff and everything, and
I'd be in trouble.
they have their own little like I guess you can call it a Bible. They got their own little books, like the Book of Mormon. But when I went into the ceremony that initiates you into their thing, I would was having a fever, but I didn't want to but I thought I'd be okay. Well, I passed out.
Oh my God.
I passed out right in the middle.
Blackstone!
Wasn't that warning
No, they
that
thought
you
I was the
maybe should've
chosen one.
left?
They thought I was the chosen one. They thought it was a sign. I swear. They was like, oh man. I was like, no. I think I have a fever. I had to tell them. They thought I was the chosen one. One of the things I was a very,
I'm not worthy.
yeah, no. I was the second coming. I was going to bring back the rebirth. Because it is kind of a dying, it was a very powerful thing at one time.
Right.
And it's kind of going down the wayside. Just a bunch of old guys in there.
Well, it
And
built the country for the most part.
throughout the country, yeah.
Yeah.
It still is, but
No, I said it built the country. You had a lot of the country.
yeah, I mean, there was definitely people in high places that were
Yeah.
Masons, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And it was, it was this kind of secret brotherhood thing. I don't know
Well,
if they...
Benjamin
Kinda
Franklin was a
Yeah,
Mason.
a lot of the founding fathers were.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I was really good at memorizing, and so the guy really thought I was smart, but I was just memorizing stuff, I didn't really, I just memorized, But they had
You
us
were
all.
smart and the chosen one.
Yeah. But you have to dress up. It was very similar because in the Mormon ceremonies, they call them magic underwear, but they have these undergarments they have to wear, and when they're on their missionary trip, they cannot take them off. They have to wear these underwear. It's basically
That sounds funny.
they don't call them magic underwear. They're kind of sacred garments. They're sacred garments, and you can look and you see a Mormon wedding, and they wear this outfits. The women wear an outfit. The men have to wear an outfit. It looks like a chef hat, and it's kind of just made out of linen. But in the there's stories in the Masonic. It's very similar. There's stories in the Masonic temple, especially where this guy his flesh gets torn off his hand, and that's part of the secret handshake.
Oh.
And you have to reenact it. They reenact it, just like
Does
there's
it hurt?
No, it's
They're not
just,
going to take that.
they don't
No,
actually.
but
Take
it has to be
well, it's part of the story of the founder. It is like a religion in a way. They have their own mythological stories, mythic stories, just like the Mormons do, and Christians and everybody else. And they reenact it, just like they reenact the the Passion of the Christ. They do it in Germany, and they have a same thing they do in Utah somewhere, where they do this big Mormon. And there's always protesters that are out there screaming at them. Just like
Why?
you go to just see Joel Osteen, there's people. I went and saw him. There's people out there screaming
Why don't
with their
they-
Bible,
why don't
calling
they
him a demon and whatnot.
Oh.
Well, it's just that's the way it is. I mean,
He's I remember for something
I went
It
and
was a
saw him live
hurricane or
once.
something, and
He wouldn't let the
He
people
wouldn't let
in
them in.
Texas, but then they did.
they
There was a
did?
thing where they
'Cause
they
it's
wouldn't
all-
let them in
Yeah.
in Houston. They have the Houston Astrodome.
Yeah,
That's their church.
yeah, and he wouldn't let them in because they didn't have a place
There
to
was
go.
the,
Oh, jeez.
yeah. I said,
But-
well, that's not
Well,
very
they
nice.
want to let
we're
people
not
mess
all
things
on
up.
an
They'll
island
mess stuff
here.
up.
Yeah.
The other way there and tear things up. I mean, I can see a little bit on both sides there.
Well,
where
I get it.
We'll just let people just flood in there and
Yeah.
like what they did. You know, when the Superdome in New Orleans during Katrina, and then people were just like pooping all over. I mean, it's humanity, you know. But they're in there tearing stuff up. You know, not peeing on the floor. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if things were happening that weren't like, you know, necessarily taken care of. You got desperate people. You got people that maybe don't
Live.
live that way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
anyway, it's amazing.
It's interesting.
And but if you go to any a lot of whatever, if it's got religion involved in it, there's going to be a line of people up protesting, man.
I guess.
And that's what happens with this Mormon thing. That's what I want to get back to. There's people out there, Christians, protesting them because a lot of people believe that it's a cult. Christian people believe that Mormons are a cult, and you can list all the evidence of it and say, yeah, it is, or you cannot.
Yeah.
Or you can say, well, I'll go with it because they've been here for a while, so we're going to accept it now. But
Right.
Or you
both
just let
ends.
people live their lives and not
Yeah.
worry about it if it doesn't affect you.
Yeah.
well, I imagine if you live out in Utah, there probably is some effect to it because, you got people living next to you and they're just, they're storing up stuff. They're running for office. And they have beliefs that are, the world's going to end soon. I don't know. It could affect you.
I mean, if they're human rights issues, yeah, definitely.
I mean,
If you
just like
found that
Trumpy when he
people are-
cleared out them guys and he's holding up the Bible in front of that church. I mean,
Yeah.
like that seemed cool to me. But some people were like, yes,
Yeah.
finally we got our holy warrior. We got our King David in here to save us from the godless liberals. I don't know.
I have to tell you, when my daughter lived in Idaho, I think I told you, Rexburg. She lived near Rexburg, but she didn't live in Rexburg.
Oh, okay.
And the baby's pediatrician at the time was in Rexburg.
Oh.
She knew a lot of LDS people. And the one thing she said, Mom, being from the East, these people are so laid back. They bought a house there. They didn't even want a contract. They just didn't shake hands. We're going to buy, it's just, they were so, and she insisted, no, we're going to have a contract.
Yeah, because if you don't do what you're supposed to do, that's what I would say.
They're like so calm and
Super.
reserved and
Definitely.
everyone's nice.
I mean,
What's so different than
Right.
here?
But then, like he said earlier, maybe they're forced to be that way. God forbid if you act like you really want to in your life,
I don't know.
yeah, you get. Well,
know.
you're
But
trained to
Excommunicated.
you're trained to be perfect.
there is that's an aspect to it. Again, that's kind of nuanced.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching this guy who has he's a psychologist, and he was kicked out of the Mormons, and he questions things because he questioned things, and that's part of it. He's like, there's a high suicide rate because you can't masturbate, you can't homosexuality is a sin, and of grounds to be kicked out, and so there's a push to be not perfect but really awesome. And
If Lori ever gets out of this fog and realizes what she's done to those kids, I feel sorry for her.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I believe she's like,
Yeah.
But
out of
yet
it.
she's a manipulator and she's a narcissist, so it's all about her anyway. So is she actually ever going to think that what she's done is wrong?
Yeah.
I don't
Probably
know.
not.
It's kind of like, and maybe this is what the lawyers are going to do. it's like brainwashing to
Yeah.
me. You know, like a cult.
Yeah.
That particular group of people, they're so like that, how they talk to each other. and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a thing called shared psych. I was looking up that. Well, I mean, just like all the people that were at the Capitol building, shared psychotic disorder.
Yeah. I
Healthy
read
people
that.
can become delusional by someone else's psychotic disorder.
Yeah.
Gaslighting.
Yeah.
I was watching this video about this documentary about when Constantinople, the city of Constantinople, back in like the 1400s. This guy was the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. He's 20 years old, and he gets 80,000 guys to go, because this was he wanted to be the Roman Emperor, and he wanted to be like Alexander the Great. So he just like lays siege on this place, you know, just killing untold thousands of people, just so. And it was all from the Quran, where there was some thing in there about some apple, and he's going to get the apple, and he's going to become the greatest sultan. He's 20 years old, and he's got 80,000 grown men doing his bidding. They're all doing it for him.
King Tut was 9 years old when he became king.
Well, the thing was, this guy, his name was Mehmet II. His dad abdicated and put him in there when he was like 12. And then he ended up actually winning this war, but then he was doing stupid stuff. So the guy had to come back. The dad had to come back, and then he...
You're done.
He messed up.
Stop.
Well, he was like...
You're done. You're not king anymore.
Well, he's like screwing people over, just like, all changing things too fast. Like,
Right.
You know, there was a pharaoh of Egypt called I can't remember the name, but he was actually the first monotheistic ruler in human history. His name was Akhenaten or Ahmed. Anyway, he's very similar to Moses' story. He came in, he took the capital of Egypt, moved it to another town. He said, we're not praying to all these other gods, we're praying to one God, Ra or Amen or whatever his name for it was. And, you know, he was like, now a teenager basically. He becomes a pharaoh, and he just changed all religion. Well, as soon as he died, they just wiped him. They wiped it all out. They erased his name from history.
Wow.
And no one actually even knew he existed until like the 1950s when they found this stuff buried. There was like, oh man, there was this other pharaoh here. He moved from Thebes or wherever, the capital. He moved it, and they found the remains. But they tried to actually erase every piece of him, every part of him, because he went against the established system. And I think he either was the son of King Tut or King Tut was his son, really closely related.
Oh, okay.
You know, they intermarried so that they wouldn't mess up the royal blood. I mean, that's what they believed. You know, so you got to marry your sister.
So they go crazy.
You know, well.
That's where the craziness
I mean,
comes from.
again, that was a belief. And in 1,000 years from now, they're going to be saying the stuff that we did. We poop in the water that we drink. I don't know. There's something that we have these cars blowing out poisonous gas, and we just walk around in it. You know, it's like you can't breathe what's coming out of that pipe. You'll die, right? But yet we just keep blowing it out. Like at some point, maybe, I don't know. Maybe in 1,000 years from now, they'll be like, "Why are these stupid people blowing?" Like, remember people who drink out of lead cups and they would get poisoned by it.
Yeah.
And they had lead pipes in houses, right?
Lead paint.
Lead paint, exactly.
Kids eating chips.
Yeah, like
Right.
I never got that. Thank God. Like I didn't understand that, but
Well, I'm just saying, like, that is, you look back to those people, it's like, oh man, why didn't they figure that out?
Yeah.
Well, we're doing stuff now that we ain't figured out, and they'll figure it out, and they'll be like, what are you guys doing?
yeah.
I don't know
Where
what
they
it is.
come from. Yeah.
Who knows what it is?
That's all we have for today.
No, I want to go into
Until
other
next
stuff.
time.
Wine and cookies.
Bye.
I